Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, and all attendees at the NetTrio User Group Conference. I was asked by Jasmine to speak to you today, and what an honor it was, particularly when you double click on the subject that she would like me to speak to. And that is, how do you go about building and maintaining a winning culture of success? I mean, just think about that, double click on that, right? Build, maintain a winning culture of success. Man, if any company could achieve that, they've captured the holy grail. And I'm going to do the best job I can over the next 30 minutes to speak to that subject. So first off, I was flattered when Jasmine asked me to present. And number two, I have had some success in my life. It's been sales success and sales leadership success. And I've both observed it, I've read about this topic, I've watched videos about it, I've worked with fellow associates that have achieved it. And so I do feel to some degree, I'm in a position to speak to the subject. So here goes, right? How do you go about dissecting this in its proper sections and quadrants? And I've elected to go three ways with it. The very first thing I'm going to talk to you about is sales success, because that's what I know the most about. I've been doing it for 44 years. What are the major elements that make someone successful in sales? The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the aperture and look at it through the customer's lens. And then the third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring the whole thing together and talk about what success means to a company. So sales success. I present at new hire sales classes, and I always give this presentation, and I save this slide that I'm about to share with you on the front end. I save it for the last slide. So after 45 minutes, I give the attendees the formula for success. I'm not going to wait till the end. I'm going to do it on the very beginning. Here it is, the formula for success. Knowledge plus ability plus activity equals success. Knowledge, ability, activity. What do I mean by that? Knowledge. Are you knowledgeable about your products? Are you knowledgeable on the competition? Are you knowledgeable about your customers' environment, their pain points, their operational challenges, their initiatives? Are you knowledgeable from a sales point of view on the features and benefits of what your solution stack offers and how it applies to your customer's environment? Knowledge. Ability. What do I mean by sales ability? Well, can you blueprint an account? Can you negotiate? Can you present? Can you relate the value proposition of your features and functions, your services and product offerings to your customer's environment and make sure we connect the dots on that? So do you have basic sales ability? And last, activity. I used to sit with salespeople that I managed. I asked them, what's the formula for your success? How many calls you need to make in a week? And they would say, well, you need to make 3 a day, 15 a week. I said, okay, take out your appointment book. Let's look at your calendar. How many did you make last week? It was 9. And the week before, 7. And before you know it, the average over the last three months was something 6.7 number of calls per week. Well, you told me on the front end, the formula for success was activity, and I need to make 3 calls a day, but I'm not achieving that. So be mindful that a lot of what we do, it's about activity. Activity will get you opportunity. Opportunity will get you items in the sales funnel. Sales funnel will get you revenue. Revenue will get you invoicing. It all starts with activity. All right. So knowledge plus ability, activity equals success. And that applies to any profession you are in. Whether you're selling monitoring services, whether you're DecisionPoint selling data capture solutions and integrating them for your customers, or you're selling apples on a street corner or bonds on Wall Street, it doesn't matter. Knowledge plus ability plus activity equals success. So here's the question it begs. Why is it some people are more successful than others? And I believe that it takes the combination of the tangible elements of success that I just shared with you with the intangibles: enthusiasm, attitude, desire, persistence, all those things that come from your heart and your gut, you're going to need to bring to bear every day and make sure you're applying it in front of your customers and in your work environment every day. So it's the intangibles that I'm going to spend a little time talking about. And one more time, I used to talk to my sales reps, hey, why not get into that account bank in New York? And they would turn to me and say, Steve, I've been calling on Bank of New York for 3 months. and they haven't returned my phone calls and I can't get into the account. I said, what about Connie Chung? They said, what about Connie Chung? I said, well, I've talked to you about the need to be persistent. And Connie Chung was pretty persistent with what she did. And she goes, what did she do? And when I tell you the story, you're not going to believe me. I'm pretty sure you're not going to believe me. But I was sitting at home a while back, many years ago, watching Saturday Night with Connie Chung. She was a famous journalist and news anchor, and she had her own show. And I watched, get this now, Connie Chung interview Marlon Brando. Now I know it's amazing, right? You don't believe me. And I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Steve, I mean, let's face it, Connie Chung has a show. She has a producer. She goes out and gets famous people. She goes and gets Marlon Brando, has him on the show. And I said, well, it's not that easy. And I read a story as to how difficult it was. Marlon Brando was before he passed, was one of the most reclusive figures in all of Hollywood. Hadn't given an interview in 15 years. Persistence. Connie Chung called Marlon Brando every month for 11 years. Finally, he said yes. Now I ask you, isn't that amazing? And so the next time someone challenges you and brings up the fact that an account is difficult to get into, yeah, they're all hard. That's why they call this work. In part, it's work, and it's not easy getting accounts. But stay persistent. Keep the goal, the end game in mind. Remember that attitude and enthusiasm, all the intangibles that you bring to the table, and I just spoke to one, the art of being persistent is important. So let me go from there and talk about what I'm going to turn the lens now from sales success to what your customers are going to expect and want from you. Any customer will expect competency, credibility, and value. Competency, credibility, and value. Competency, what do we mean by that? As I said before, knowledge, right? Are you good at what you do? Are you competent? Are you the representative that trio is wanting to put in front of their customers? Can you be resourceful? Remember, your customers, they don't think about doing business with the trio. They're thinking about doing business with you. And you're the conduit back into Nutrio, and you're representing that you can pull together the resources that are required and needed to be brought to bear on this opportunity on their behalf. Are you competent at being able to do that? And if you are, that is one of the 3 elements that I believe customers will look for in their account representatives. And by the way, when I say account representatives, I'm not just talking about sales. I'm talking about technical support, project management, client representation, anybody that is serving customers. That's what your customers are going to look for, is competency in that individual. Secondly, credibility. Are you credible? Have you done it before? Where have you done it? Have you done it in my industry? Have you satisfied this use case and this challenge that you're looking to satisfy in my environment? Have you done that elsewhere? And where? And how many times? And by the way, when you make references to your customers about the different customers you've served, whether it be Bed Bath Beyond, Williams-Sonoma, Nike, Nordstrom, you need to be able to, PetSmart, Petco, rattle off your customers' names and the method in which you referenced and reference sold is going to be evaluated by your customers. So make sure that you're credible resource to your customers. And the best way to do that is to point you where you've done it before, credibility. And last, value. If you finally get the appointment with the CIO, are you adding value? Are you taking to-dos from their list and putting them onto your list? Are you acting as a virtual extension to their IT organization? If you do, you're adding value. You'll get the next appointment. If you don't, you won't. So competency, credibility, and value, the customer's lens into what they're expecting from their account representative, whether it be NetTrio or DecisionPoint. Okay, so now I want to talk about this partnership and the importance to it, to me and us. First of all, I will tell you categorically, this is not a nice to have, a successful partner with NetTrio and success in entering the network monitoring space. It's not a nice to have. It's a must have. I need to have this because it takes me from the capital expenditure world of valuing companies to a reoccurring network monitoring world. And when anytime you talk to investors about reoccurring revenue, that spells magic from a valuation point of view. So this company, DecisionPoint, must establish growth. And the best place to get growth is our services, which typically include reoccurring revenue. And there's only three ways you grow. I can grow organically, been doing that. I can grow through acquisition, been doing that. And you can also grow through partnering. And I'm looking to do that here. So this partnership is enormously valuable to us. I believe today, DecisionPoint reps and you, but I know firsthand, DecisionPoint, we have earned trusted advisor status with our customers. We've earned the right to sit in front of the CIO and sell them services. Typically around mobile and wireless, now around landline network monitoring functionality and capability. And I think we could cross that chasm and capture more wallet share from our customers if we double click on this partnership. And that's why it's important to us. Be patient. This is somewhat new to our reps. But I think done right, done smartly, we're going to be successful here. We got good activity. We need to double click on that. So when I double clicked, speaking of that, on your website, here's what I found. I found your mantra. Netrio's mantra is observe, analyze, and act. And it seems like everything needs to work in threes because our industry's mantra is also threefold. It's visibility, connected, and optimize those connections. So I like to say that we act at the point of activity. DecisionPoint are delivering solutions at those moments that matter for our customers. When blood samples are being read, when drugs are being read, when packages are being shipped, when equipment is being shipped and monitored. Anytime you see the physical world connecting with the IT world, that point of activity, that's what we call the decision point. And so we think we could bring best-in-class integration solutions and services to our customers at their moments that matter. And when we do that, we are a trusted advisor to our customers. Now I need to do more. When I get to my customers, I need to capture more wallet share, hence the point I just made about the importance of this partnership. So I don't know why these mantras go in threes, they just do. I think the world works in threes, everybody thinks in threes. Observe, analyze, act. I think there's alignment between visibility, connectedness, and optimization. And that's the world we live in, and your world is the world we want our customers to live in going forward. We need to do more of it. So a little bit about alignment, I feel, exists between our mantra. I have to also tell you how impressed I was with your leader, Jasmine. I had a lunch with her about 3 or 4 weeks ago in New York City, and I was blown away. I was really blown away. I mean, you know, you don't have to listen to me. Anytime a company grows 5x in 3 years, there's something being done right there. And if you just need to talk to Jasmine to understand that she's been executing, she's been leading, and your company, you all have been executing at Netrio in a material way, and there's more that could be had going forward. So if I were to summarize Jasmine's formula for success, which translates to Netrio's, I would say there's 3 dimensions to it. You're executing. You're already doing that. You need to do more of it. You need to grow. And by the way, if you're not growing, you're standing still. If you're standing still, you're dying. You got to be growing. And last is this thing called culture, which is, it's one of those things that's hard to explain, but you know when you see it. And culture, I believe, is one of those things where employees know when they feel it. But before I get there, I'm going to spend a little time on culture. I want to get to growth and execution. So as fate would have it, years ago, I used to speak to the subject around growth, and I had to do my homework. So I read some books, and sure enough, Michael Tracy wrote a couple of them, Double-Digit Growth and the Description of Market Leaders. And I'm happy to come here and tell you, you don't have to read the books. I've read them. And I could synthesize down what these 2 books basically told the reading audience. Mike Tracy thought there were 5 elements of growth. And in order to maintain attractive revenue growth, he felt these 5 dimensions were critical. Number 1, base retention. What do I mean by that? You can't go backwards. Once you capture a customer, you need to do everything to hold on to them. If you lose them, that's the first hole you need to fill next year in order to grow year over year. So really important element of growth, don't go backwards. You can't go backwards. absolutely paramount. You need to hold on to your customers, and we're going to build upon last year's results with this year's results. Dimension one, base retention. Number two, share gain. Share gain is typically gained from taking customers from the competition. This is a bloody fight. There is usually blood in the water in the streets over this one, right? Because they're going to fight as hard to hold on to their customers to make sure they achieve dimension one, base retention, right? So in order to capture new market share gains, you typically do it at the expense of a competitor, very bloody, but it's a dimension of growth. It's a dimension of growth. Number three, market positioning. And Michael Tracy, I think what he meant here was, hey, go where the spend is happening, right? Follow the money trail. If there's growth happening in cybersecurity, which I understand is going to be $1 trillion market now, last I heard, it grew from $1 billion to $1 trillion and growing. See what you could do to follow the money trail and go where money is being spent. And that's what he meant by market positioning. Fourth and fifth is exactly what I'm doing here. Go into adjacent markets and go into new lines of business. Well, there's nothing more new line about business, network monitoring to DecisionPoint than this partnership. All right. And so we absolutely are testing elements 4 and 5 of Michael Tracy's formula for success and growth by getting to adjacent markets. And if I'm doing network monitoring around mobile and wireless and printers, why can't I do it in the landline world? And second, go to new lines of business. This is clearly a new line of business for me. And that's why I asked you, be patient with my salespeople. They know their world like you know your world. But they also know it's an operational imperative to cross the chasm and make sure we get more wallet share of our customers. And they're spending money today around network monitoring. So 5 dimensions of growth. You don't need to read the books. Served up on a silver platter free of charge from yours truly. Okay. I want to include this quote because I was taken by it. And I'm just talking now about the importance of our business and our business model. But it was Jeff Bezos who said, you can have the best business model and you can have the greatest technology. But if you don't have a compelling story that brings it all together, it's not going to matter. No one's going to listen. No one's going to watch. So here's the takeaway on this one quote. Whatever you do, build your own value proposition. Create your own story. Customers buy stories. They buy references. They don't buy bullets on a slide. And that's what he was saying here. And that's what I believe. Each one of us own the responsibility to take into and internalize what this partnership could mean and how we go and convey the benefits of it and make that story as compelling as possible. Make it your own. And with that, customers will opt in. Little Jeff Bezos quote, I thought it was relevant, so I dropped it in here. Okay, so now I want to move to the most important element of this conversation. And it's the one that Jasmine and I spent a bunch of time on. And it's this thing called culture. You know, as I said before, culture is one of those things, it's hard to describe, but you know when you see it. And employees and associates know it when they feel it. And if you can get to this thing called a positive winning culture of success, and you can maintain it, you've got something special. And so there's a bunch of different tangents that, you know, I could go on around a culture. I mean, I was with a company by the name of Network Appliance, and there's a cultural leader there by the name of Tom Mendoza. And I got the good fortune of observing Tom across a 2-year period from 04 to 06. I worked for Network Appliance. And when I got there, they were rated by Fortune magazine's top 100 companies to work for. They were number 49 in 04. And they weren't happy. The next year, they were number 19. The next year, they're number 9. The following year, they're number 2. And in 2009, they achieved Fortune magazine's top 100 companies to work for, number 1. And the guy was the straw that stirred the drink there was this charismatic leader by the name of Tom Mendoza. By the way, you can check him out on YouTube. Just type in his name. His name's on the business school at Notre Dame. I guess when you give tens of millions of dollars to your alma mater, you too can get your name on your business school, but it's the Mendoza School of Business at Notre Dame. And he did one thing and one thing really, really well, the best I've ever seen. He was long on culture, and he thought there were 5 dimensions of culture. And the first one was attitude. You and I control the attitude that we bring to work every day. What is the attitude we're going to bring to a meeting every day? When we enter it, when we leave it. And attitude is 100% out of our control, in our control, I should say. And never once has anybody pointed out to me that the benefits of a negative attitude. If you have a choice, it's under your control. If you're going to wake up in the morning, wake up with a positive attitude. That was one of 5 dimensions of Networks Appliance's culture of success. Number 2, candor. What do you mean by that? Never once did they have a meeting where individuals weren't given an opportunity, a platform to voice their opinion, regardless of the level that you maintain in the organization? You were entitled and almost expected to be completely transparent, and candor was huge. You don't exit a meeting, walk down the hallway, get to the water cooler, and talk to someone else about something other than what was mentioned in the meeting. That would be completely taboo. Candor was paramount important. Third, Tom was a big believer, catch someone doing something right instead of something wrong. And it doesn't matter the level. In fact, and particularly when there's risk involved, if you can find someone doing something right, make sure you recognize them. Let them know it. Let them know it publicly, let them know it privately. You can't give congratulations enough to people within the organization. Make sure you do something. Make sure you catch someone doing something right. Number 4, leadership. Now, I understand that Jasmine has a team 1 in the organization. What an honor. What a privilege it is to be a leader. Along with it comes a certain level of accountability and responsibility. And you got to know what that is. And you got to bring it to work every day. Your associates, your fellow associates are going to expect it and look for it from you. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And leadership is a perfect platform to be able to demonstrate that to your fellow associates. And number 5, embrace change. Change is not easy. It's not easy. Look what I'm asking DecisionPoint, all associates, to do. And by the way, anybody in the organization, not just sales, has a responsibility to sell. I'd say at every all hands meeting, job 1 is to sell. Job 2 is to do what you were hired to do. But job 1 is to sell. And you own the responsibility to embrace change. We all own the responsibility of making sure the partnership of NetTrio and DecisionPoint is a winning one. Okay. That's a little bit about a company that has built, well, not my measure, it's Forbes magazine, number 1 culture to work for, Network Appliance. Like I said, you can check Tom out on YouTube. Last thing I want to end with is a story. And this story includes a 7-minute homework assignment. And I'm going to ask you to do it. I'm going to ask you to go home tonight or whenever, next couple of days, week. Go to your PC after you tuck the kids away, turn the sound up, go to YouTube, do a search on Bill Parcells' 2013 Hall of Fame speech. Bill Parcells was inducted into the National Football League Hall of Fame in 2013, and he was the football coach of the New York Giants. He won 2 Super Bowls. And his speech is 27 minutes long. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Fast forward to the 20-minute mark and watch the last 7 minutes. Here's the interesting thing you're going to observe. Never once does he use the word culture, but what he's describing is culture. He believed culture was formed in the locker room. After all, it's the locker room where the players and coaches assemble every day, before a practice, after a practice, before a game, after a game. And by the way, if you haven't picked up on the metaphor, this conference is our locker room. Our office in California, those are our locker rooms, right? That's our office. That's our home field advantage. We get an opportunity to build something special and have it emerge out of that office. So, but he believed that the culture of a football team, the tone of a football team was set in the locker room. As I mentioned, they get together there every day. The second thing he observed was that in this room, there's a very diverse set of people. And they come from all different walks of life. There's Blacks, there's Hispanics, there's whites, there's Samoans, there's Swedes, there's Danish. There's people from every nationality and every country in the world. And they make up this body of 45 players on a team. No different than what we have in place here between our companies. And no one cares where you're from. The only thing they care about is, are you there to help? Are you there to make a difference? And if you are readily accepted, you're embraced. And if you're not, maybe you should get out now, because we don't have alignment. So the people and what they bring every day to the company to bring to bear is what matters most. The next thing he observed was that in this room, there is law and order. There's a set of rules. And sometimes those rules aren't written down. But after a while, you know exactly what they are. And if you break a rule, you're going to find out. And the people that will let you know will act swiftly. And there is no judge and jury involved here. This is not an appellate court. You get told and you get reprimanded, and you know what those rules are, whether they're written or not. So there's law and order, there's diversity, and in this room, there's a set of emotions. And the emotions span the gamut, because think about it. What happens in this room? You either win or you lose. Those are the two things that happen, just like our world. We either win deals, lose deals. In the winning, there's happiness, joy, pranksters, hilarity, and if you happen to go on that magic carpet ride at the end of 2 seasons, what happened with Parcells, and you get into the playoffs and you win your 3 games, and you get to the Super Bowl and you win that, and you get invited to that podium with Jim Nantz holding the Lombardi trophy, and all 40 players are reaching to that trophy to touch it because they're now won. There's a certain kinship that gets formed there, he believed, that will stay with you for the rest of your life if done right. So there's happiness, there's joy in the winning. On the other side of that locker room, there's losing. And in the losing, there's despair, there's despondency, there's depression, there's pain. He pointed out, those offensive linemen that just played at SoFi Stadium in a 95-degree weather day, and they're walking across the tarmac with the IV bag over their shoulder, and they're getting on a plane, and they have to lay down the aisles and have their legs, packed in ice because they couldn't sit in their chair because they would keep from cramping up. He goes, he saw that pain firsthand. There is pain. There's injury. Sometimes there's death. But he said, he leaned on his kinship in the bad times. And whenever he ran into a problem, the players all came running to help. Just like my first 2 years at DecisionPoint. We weren't making payroll, but the employees came running to me to help. And I knew we had something special then, and we've continued to build on that. And Parcells ends, I'm paraphrasing, maybe you don't even have to watch the 7-minute video, by the way. He said, let me end with this story, and I'm going to end with the story. When he signed his deal with the Giants, Wellington Mara was the owner. He signed it at the Meadowlands. It's over in Rutherford, New Jersey. And he was on the 4th floor, and Wellington Mara said, come on, Bill, follow me over here. I want to show you something. So they get on an elevator, they go down to the 1st floor. Doors open up to that room that he's been describing. And he walks clear across that locker room. And before he walks out to the players' tunnel to go to the field, there's a little room off to the left. And Wellington opens the door. He goes, Bill, and on the far side of the wall is a plaque. And on the plaque is a saying. And the saying was authored by an individual by the name of Emerald Tennell. He played for the Giants from 57 to 66. He was the first Black player ever inducted into the National Football League Hall of Fame. And the saying said the following: losers assemble in small groups and talk negatively about the players and coaches assembled in small groups. Winners assemble as a team. Winners assemble as a team. You are one team. You're one company. You have one culture. We are hopefully one team. And I want to thank each and every one of you in advance for helping make this partnership between NetTrio and DecisionPoint a successful one. Thank you very much.
Running.